Hey, welcome back. J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I'm your man J.P. And we are continuing on with my series of individual wrestlers and the correlating action figure, primarily right now, the Hasbros, or the Hasbros that I possess. And today, we are talking about this guy, the Superfly, Jimmy Snuka. Now, I was always kind of a fan of Jimmy Snuka. This figure, it's not a real strong figure. I mean, it's got these fused together legs, and it's got a wide open hand. And the only thing that really gives this figure a pass is the fact that Jimmy Snuka was more of a chopper than a puncher. So this figure is playable. I played with this one, but not a real strong wrestling pose. But the only thing that makes sense is that, like I said before, that he was always more of a chopper than a puncher, but also he was also high flyer. He flew off the top rope for his finishing move. So it kind of still makes a little bit sense, but nevertheless, Jimmy Snuka, yeah, he spent a good portion of his career actually in my old stomping grounds, the Pacific Northwest, Portland, Oregon, and he spent a lot of time there wrestling for Portland Wrestling. Then, of course, everyone remembers his run at WWF, where he was in that very famous cage match back in the early 80s with Don Morocco, where he flew off the top of the cage on top of Morocco. That was a spectacular moment in wrestling history. But then, I think he left WWF for a while. Then he came back in the early 90s and tried to have another run. But his second run really wasn't as strong. And so he went away for a while, wrestling elsewhere. WCW, probably Japan, probably. And, he wrestled a lot of different places. But interesting enough, though, Superfly Jimmy Snuka is a former ECW champion. That's right. Back in the early days of ECW, back when it was Eastern Championship Wrestling, Jimmy Snuka was their champion for a while. And he was a heel. He was a heel character. And interesting enough, his cage match opponent, Don Morocco, was in the same stable as him in ECW. So they were kind of friends. And they were kind of running around with Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. And yeah, for a while on the WWE network, I was watching the early days of ECW. I was watching like those early programs, and they were pretty good. But later on, ECW changed to Extreme Championship Wrestling, and that's where things kind of took a turn for ECW. But Snuka was right there at the beginning, and I think he kind of helped him through those early days. But yeah, now Snuka also had an LJN figure, and the LJN figure I think was probably a little bit better than this one, because the pose was more like his hand was kind of up like that, and his other arm was kind of down like this, and he had kind of a little bit of a wider stance. So, I mean, that figure was always pretty good, and that figure actually got some play when I was a kid. I mean, not for me, because I didn't have the LJNs when I was a kid, but I remember me and Joe, whenever we would play with the LJNs, Snuka got some matches in, definitely. But yeah, Jimmy Snuka, a lot of memorable matches, indeed. And my hat's off to him. He's no longer with us. So, rest in peace, Jimmy Snuka. I applaud you. And that's going to do it for today's video. So if you're new here, go and like and subscribe. Leave your memories of Jimmy Snuka in the comments. And I'll see you next time.